morning, everybody. Before I forget, let me start by saying that I want to thank Whalefest people, everyone with Whalefest, One Free Foundation, and, this is a tongue twister for me, the World Cetacean Alliance. Did I get that right? Yes. All right. Well, I was nervous about that part. All right. So, honestly, thank you for everything, and thank you for allowing me to be here today. So, for my presentation today, I just want to kind of break it down the way it's going to go so you can kind of follow along better. So, it's mainly going to be about blackfish and the effect on SeaWorld, how it affected them then and today, and then it's also going to go into my journey. How did I go from being a killer whale trainer for 14 over 19 years to now be, speaking to all of you today. So I'm just going to jump right in so that way as these things jump around you can kind of follow, and then I'll hopefully close it up with something nice. All right, so just 2 weeks ago I was interviewed by Pim Fox on Bloomberg TV, which aired internationally. Now, since my interview was live, SeaWorld waited until the end of the broadcast to submit this carefully worded, prepared statement, which they have become infamous for. So Amy Jeanson, who is the SeaWorld spokesperson of the moment, because they obviously have a revolving door with that, she says, despite the false claims from John Hargrove and other extreme animal rights activists, we provide the highest standards of care as noted by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums and are highly regulated by the federal government. Our whales are healthy and thriving. Now, you see extreme animal rights activists highlighted because, as you know, if anyone says anything against SeaWorld, you are immediately an extremist and you're an extreme animal rights activist. So I personally find that very offensive, but we should all be very used to it by now. All right, now, what's interesting is this was a SeaWorld spokesperson, and what she said, which was clearly offensive and not accurate. But I wanted to go on to what past SeaWorld spokespeople have said, and it actually has to deal with some aggression. So in 2006, Orchid grabbed a trainer, Brian Roquiche. She drug him to the bottom of the pool, front show pool. It was during the show, 36 feet down. The trainer tore a ligament in his left ankle. And when this happened, when anything like this happens, we the trainers, we clearly know what is aggressive behavior and what's not aggressive. This was never an investigative period or was Orchid being aggressive? What do we know? We knew immediately Orchid was being aggressive. Anytime a whale grabs you in their mouth and drags you down to the bottom of the pool, it is an aggressive event. So there was no need for any of the trainers to get together to speak about it or discuss it to figure out what do we think happened. But let's see, and who was it at that time? So SeaWorld spokesperson Dave Kuntz said, quote, trainers do not believe Orchid's behavior was aggressive, end quote. Okay? Clearly, at this point that he made this statement, not only did all of his trainers involved know that it was clearly an aggressive event, but it had also already been officially documented in what we call a corporate incident report. So SeaWorld can't escape those records. And their worst nightmare will be to one day litigation to happen and those records become public information under the Freedom of Information Act, because all of these aggressions are in the corporate incident reports. And it's very clearly outlined, aggressive behavior, this is what happened, that would happen. So it's just important to know that here is another statement by a SeaWorld spokesperson that they knew at the time that they made it, to the media, that it was false. So going on, 2007, Orchid knocks trainer Wendy Ramirez, who used to be my best friend of 20 years, she knocked her over and behind an elevated wall. Wendy was hospitalized after striking her head on the concrete, losing consciousness. SeaWorld spokesperson at that time, Darla Davis, described the incident as a, quote, bump from Orchid and stated, quote, "She just lost her balance," meaning Wendy just lost her balance. And then Dave Coots added to that, quote, "It was unclear if the whale intended to headbutt the trainer or accidentally bumped into her." Okay, this is exactly what happened in that incident. Orchid was being ultrasounded. She was having an ultrasound performed on her because we were trying to get her pregnant. And Wendy was in control of Orchid, and the vets needed to step over the wall with the ultrasound equipment. It's our jobs as trainers that if we see any behavioral change in the whales that may show that they're becoming uncomfortable, we tell the vets to immediately step behind the wall with their equipment so they're behind a barrier and they're safe. So when this happened, Orchid became tight. She had tight back, she started emitting vocalizations, she was becoming uncomfortable with the procedure. So Wendy immediately told the vets, "Get your equipment, get behind the wall immediately." They did. Wendy's still over the wall with Orchid. Orchid sits up, she comes out of the lineup, she sits up in front of Wendy, and Wendy asked her what we call in behavioral terms a DRI, a differential reinforcement of incompatible behavior. She asked her just to do a slide out, but away from her, not in front of her, but in a slide out, which was another area of the pool. By doing this, if she did the correct behavior, it would be incompatible with any type of aggression with Wendy. But what Orchid did with lightning speed, and without Wendy even having a chance to react, to even take a step behind the wall, Orchid came up, closed mouth, and struck Wendy right in the chest, and that's what knocked Wendy behind the wall and onto her face and made her lose consciousness. Not because Wendy lost her balance. So, again, at the time that this happened, it was clearly written out